Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I am the Divine One and I'm bringing you yet another assortment. Each time we have a serious conversation about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, or as Fox News would call it, didn't earn it. But if we're going to talk about people who didn't earn their position, let's start with the real poster children for nepotism and privilege. We're going to delve into the latest anti-DEI rhetoric being pushed by figures like Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Yes, that Donald Trump, the nerve, I know. That Donald Trump, the man who has never worked a real job in his life. The man who inherited everything from his father, including a real estate empire, a reputation built on lies, and a political career that never should have happened. The man, that very man, who paid off a porn star to keep his secrets, lost billions in failed business ventures, and yet has the audacity to tell others that they didn't earn it. It must be nice to have 34 felony convictions and still be able to get a job over an accomplished and educated woman. Anywho, we're going to look at some TikToks, and there will be commentary at the end. Let's go.
Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
The FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. That is amazing. And then it says FAA says people with severe disabilities are most underrepresented segment of the workforce, and they want them in, and they want them. They can be air traffic controllers. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's just the opposite. We do not know what led to this crash, but we have some very strong opinions.
Donald Trump speculated that diversity initiatives backed by Democrats lowered the standard of hiring for air traffic controllers, and that may have played a part in the disaster.
This was a job that had to be superior intelligence, and we didn't really have that.
He didn't provide any evidence to support this claim. The cause of the crash is still under investigation.
Are you saying this crash was somehow caused and the result of diversity hiring? And what evidence have you seen to support these claims?
It just could have been.
How you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash?
Because I have common sense.
So what to make of Donald Trump's decision to insert himself into this national tragedy? Well, in his view, there's never a bad time to attack opponents or advance his agenda.
Do you even yet know the names of the 67 people who were killed? And you are blaming Democrats and DEI policies and air traffic control and seemingly the member of the U.S. military who was flying that Black Hawk helicopter. Don't you think you're getting ahead of the investigation right now?
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think with the names of the people. You mean the names of the people that are on the plane? You think that's going to make a difference? They are a group of people that have lost their lives. If you want a list of the names, we can give you that. We'll be giving that very soon. We're in coordination with American Airlines. We're in coordination very strongly, obviously, with the military. But I think that's not a very smart question.
Are you saying this crash was somehow caused and the result of diversity hiring? And what evidence have you seen to support these claims?
It just could have been.
I'm trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't.
So listen, let's talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, all right? That's been a target of yours lately on X. There was a repost of Ben Shapiro that you claim that DEI is killing people. Specifically, you point to medicine. You claim that DEI programs are putting people at risk. Do you really believe this to be true, and what evidence do you have to support it?
What I was referring to there was that if we lower the standards for doctors, so that they, if the test for a doctor is lowered, then the probability of them making a mistake and killing someone is obviously going to be higher.
Wait, say that again. I'm not sure I understand what you said. I want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
Yes, if the standards for passing medical exams and becoming a doctor, or especially something like a surgeon, if the standards are lowered, then the probability that the surgeon will make a mistake is higher. They're making mistakes in their exam.
Maybe instead of yapping about DEI, Donald Trump should talk more about why he dismantled key aviation safety committees just last week.
So Donald Trump just signed an executive order blaming Joe Biden, DEI, and woke policies for the fatal plane crash that happened last night. So in the Oval Office just now, Trump put his signature on a memorandum titled Immediate Assessment of Aviation Safety, which orders his transportation secretary and FAA administrator to, quote, undo all of the damage that was done by Biden, DEI, and woke policies. So this is straight up gaslighting from Donald Trump. He is blaming Biden, who is no longer president. He is blaming DEI, which has nothing to do with the crash, and he is blaming woke policies, which he can't even define despite him being the president, who is currently overseeing the FAA and who signed orders last week to gut a key aviation safety committee, as well as firing several airline personnel. This is a distraction from the fact that he may be responsible for this crash, and so he's trying to shift the blame onto everybody else, but don't fall for it.
Donald Trump could not wait to get to the podium at the White House today and blame the aircraft collide on diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI hires, even though there is no evidence of it at this point. When every single person he was standing on the stage with, by their definition, is a DEI hired, which means, according to them, they're unqualified for the job. And that includes Donald Trump to Pete Hegseth to Sean Duffy to J.D. Vance, all DEI hires.
Breaking news as Donald Trump signed an executive order blaming Obama for the American Airlines crash last night. He said, quote, Obama is to blame because he did the DEI stuff, which means he put somebody in the seat that was unqualified. Obama has responded saying, quote, yeah, I put him in the seat in 2013. It's 2025. They had 12 years of experience and then you fired them.
Folks, we've got a really concerning update coming in right now. So apparently less than 24 hours before that American Airlines passenger jet and that military helicopter collided near Reagan International Airport, there was a near miss, like a similar incident almost happened at the same location. Let me explain. Apparently, Republic Airways Flight 4514 had to abort its landing and reroute because a helicopter was in its way as it approached the airport on Tuesday. The plane, which was inbound from Connecticut, had to dramatically increase altitude at the last second in order to avoid a collision with a helicopter that was hanging out near the airport. Thankfully, on its second approach to the runway, that plane was able to land safely. New audio from air traffic control related to that flight has now been released confirming that this occurred. This raises even more questions about the way Donald Trump has handled this entire incident, the way his Department of Defense is flying these helicopters so close to the airports, and his refusal to take any responsibility. Trump continues to try to deflect from the fact that he got rid of a key aviation board, that him and Elon Musk forced out the head of the FAA just right after his inauguration because he fined Elon Musk something like $600,000 for safety violations from SpaceX. All of his actions right now are coming under scrutiny because they clearly seem like they made our country far less safe. We're going to be following all this news and much more, so make sure you're following us right now so you get all the updates.
Now, I know how difficult it is to decipher the truth from lies, fiction from reality, gaslighting, and projections as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion when its main function is a level playing field. For all you football enthusiasts, imagine a Patriots game starting on the 50-yard line when they have possession of the ball. But the opposing teams are constantly hamstrung to the point it seems they aren't allowed to advance past the 5-yard line when they have possession of the ball. Then the Patriots win every time and are celebrated as the greatest team of all time. Doesn't seem too fair, does it? Diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, candidates are individuals who have historically been hamstrung excluded from opportunities due to systemic bias in hiring, education, and career advancement, while non-DEI candidates, connected white men, are not just starting at the 50-yard line. Most likely, they are automatically given the position. Don't have to work for it. DEI candidates include racial minorities, women, LGBTQ, individuals, veterans, and people with disabilities, groups that have faced barriers to success despite their qualifications and merit. DEI initiatives aim to create a level playing field, ensuring that everyone has a fair shot based off of their skills and experience rather than outdated and discriminatory practices. Critics of DEI falsely frame these candidates as unqualified or diversity hires to uphold existing power structures. The truth, many DEI candidates are overqualified compared to their counterparts who benefit from nepotism and privilege. Critics of DEI, using the language of meritocracy, have also been politically weaponized, particularly by right-wing and corporate interests that oppose structural change. DEI backlash in politics, laws banning DEI in hiring, education, and corporate governance. For instance, Florida's Stop Woke Act framed DEI as a threat to fairness while ignoring historical racial exclusion. Corporate contradictions. Many corporations publicly denounce DEI, yet their leadership remains predominantly white, making their sudden concern for merit suspect. Media framing. Black professionals in high positions, say for instance Ketanji Brown Jackson, Supreme Court Justice, or former President Barack Obama, former Vice President Kamala Harris, are often framed as DEI hires rather than highly qualified individuals, despite their credentials, accomplishments, and achievements surpassing those of their white peers. This political framing reinforces the idea that racial minorities must constantly prove their worth while white individuals are assumed to be naturally qualified. I guess the achievements are going to appear in a resume through osmosis or something, I don't know. The real didn't earn it candidate. Let's talk about some prime examples of people who did not earn their position but have the nerve to criticize DEI initiatives. Let's talk about these real-life walking examples of privilege and undeserved power. Jared Kushner, the $2.5 million admission fee, his education, bachelor's in government from Harvard in 2003, a law and master's of business administration from NYU in 2007. Now, how did he get into Harvard? Big Daddy Charles Kushner paid Harvard $2.5 million in 1998. His high school GPA at the time of admission allegedly was a 1.8. You heard that right. The first school where Kushner attended high school stated that his GPA did not warrant admission to Harvard and his SAT scores did not warrant it either. Ouch. His first job, straight to Big Daddy's real estate business, never had to prove himself, no internships, no hard work, straight into wealth. His final position, the senior advisor to Donald Trump, despite zero political or government experience. And his major controversies, other than being affiliated with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, particularly in connection with the 2018 murder of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Other than that, his only other controversy is that he used his White House position to advance his family's real estate business. But tell me again, who didn't earn it? Eric Trump, bachelor's degree in finance from Georgetown. His first job, Trump Organization. Working for Daddy. Current job, still working for Daddy. Trump Organization. No real experience, no proving himself outside of nepotism. Just walked into a leadership role. Just stumbled right on in there. And then there's King Koopa himself, Donald Trump Sr. He got into Wharton because of his father's influence, inherited his daddy's business, and still managed to run it into the ground multiple times. Declared bankruptcy 6 times, paid hush money to cover up a scandal with a porn star. If anyone is the definition of didn't earn it, then it's this warthog here known as Donald Trump. The Fox News hypocrisy. Oh yes, I'm gonna have to tug a little bit. You know what? There's no tugging in this video. I won't be reading anybody. But let's take a step back and look at how this plays out in right-wing media. Fox News is one of the biggest critics of DEI, constantly pushing a narrative that black professionals are unqualified or diversity hires. But what happens when we put their own roster under scrutiny? Sean Hannity, the unqualified loudmouth. His education, he attended NYU and Delphi, but dropped out and never finished, so he's a college dropout. His first job, a general contractor. Not journalism, not politics, just some random dude. First media gig, volunteered at UC Santa Barbara, KCSB-FM. Translation, unpaid intern, no credentials. Current position, the loudest voice on Fox News, making millions, more than every woman on that network with actual degrees and experience. Next up, the king of adult incels, the supreme of the coven of nepo babies, Tucker Carlson. His daddy, Richard Carlson, was a powerful media figure and ambassador. Tucker never had to prove himself. He just waltzed right on into the industry with doors wide open for him. Did he struggle? Absolutely not. How did he get to Fox News? His connections and other than qualifications. Sounds like a didn't earn it to me. And then there's Peter Doocy, Fox legacy baby. Who's your daddy? Steve Doocy, a longtime Fox News host. Who gave him a job? Fox News. What's his talent? Asking the dumbest possible questions at White House press briefings. That's it. Meanwhile, women at Fox News, especially Gretchen Carlson and Megyn Kelly, had far more education and experience, yet they had to fight tooth and nail just to be respected. Here's the kicker. When you actually compare the resumes of men versus women at Fox News, the women run circles around them in education, experience, and work ethic. Here's some examples. Gretchen Carlson, Stanford University, studied at Oxford, started as a reporter. Megyn Kelly, law degree, started as an attorney. Lauren Ingram, Dartmouth College, UV Law School. Granted, it does appear that she has the same mindset as the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan and also the face of a Beezenhound. Be that as it may, Sean Hannity, who never finished college, did not come into the industry with any type of reporting or journalism, so no experience, no expertise, and yet he was making more than all of these women. But we're supposed to believe DEI hires are the problem. All right, we've been talking about the real didn't earn it hires, those who waltzed into positions of power without credentials, experience, or expertise or competence. And you already know, we got to talk about Pete Hegseth, because if there was ever a walking, talking Fox News approved example of a didn't earn it hire, it's this man. For those of you who don't know, and trust me, you didn't miss much, Pete Hegseth was a Fox News mouthpiece and Trump loyalist who somehow managed to schmooze his way to being the Secretary of Defense in the second Trump administration. Russia must be ecstatic. During his confirmation hearing, when confronted about his alcoholism, Pete basically gave a scout to honor, I promise I won't drink if confirmed, and the Republicans accepted this and allowed him to be confirmed as the Secretary of Defense. Yes, you heard that right. A man who has never commanded troops, never been a policy expert, never run a major defense organization, has an alcohol addiction, was confirmed to run the Pentagon. There will be no more speeches from Republicans about patriotism. And now, these same people have the audacity to scream about DEI. But let's do a little breakdown, just a little digging of what Pete Hegseth, what he's actually done and why he's in rooms he has no business being in. Let's talk about his education. He has a bachelor's degree from Princeton, which is already suspect given the whole legacy admission situation. He has a master's degree from Harvard, but let's be real, white conservatives love to yell about Harvard being woke unless they went there. His military service, Pete served in the National Guard, not an active duty combat leader, held a desk job in Iraq and Afghanistan, never commanded troops in a real operational capacity. Pete didn't earn his spot at the table, he just knew white conservatives. In 2007 to 2011, he ran Vets for Freedom, a conservative group that existed to push pro-war narratives. In 2012 to 2017, he led Concerned Veterans for America, another astroturfed conservative organization pushing privatization of the VA. In 2014, Pete applied to be Trump in his first term, his Veterans Affairs Secretary, but was rejected for being too incompetent. Let me repeat that again. Trump didn't think he was qualified. And this is Trump we're talking about. The same man who let Ben Carlson run HUD despite never working in housing. Let's see, surely there's more to this resume here. Absolutely not. In 2017 to then present, 2024, Fox News, he was a Fox News contributor, professional bootlicker, and propaganda spewer. And now he's the Secretary of the Pentagon. Where is the real leadership experience? Where is the military strategy expertise? Where is the command experience? It seems that I had more command experience when I was in the Boy Scouts than what this guy had. So why was he confirmed to run the Pentagon? Hegseth, like every other Fox News hack, spends all his time railing against diversity, equity, and inclusion, claiming that wokeism is ruining the military. But when he got rejected for a job he wasn't qualified for, when he didn't get picked to run the VA, when he wasn't competent enough for Trump's Pentagon, did he admit he was unqualified? Did he accept that he was an affirmative action hire for white conservatives? Nope. Instead, he blamed the deep state and claimed that a woke agenda was keeping him from serving. Newsflash, not being qualified for a job isn't a conspiracy. It's called a consequence. And I just have a final thought on Pete here, the ultimate didn't earn it example. So next time you hear Pete Hegseth ranting about DEI hires ruining the country, ask yourself, did he earn his spot on Fox News, or was he handed it for being a MAGA loyalist? Did he earn the right to lead the Pentagon, or was he just a white conservative who knew the right person, the right people? Did he earn the authority to talk about national security, or is he just another loudmouth who reads Pentagon talking points off a teleprompter? The answer, he didn't earn a damn thing. And that is the real problem. Not DEI, not diversity, not equity, not inclusion. No more sermons about DEI or black people getting jobs they didn't earn. The problem is unqualified white conservative men failing upward and then crying about merit when they get called out. And here's yet, I think this will be my final example of the didn't earn it. Elon Musk, the poster boy, and then this man inherited wealth from apartheid-era South Africa, dropped out of his PhD program, and now wants to tell people that they didn't earn their success. A federal judge ruled that Musk contributed nothing to Tesla's success. His employees built the company. He just took credit. But let's take a moment to talk about his recent DEI meltdown. Musk and his DEI is bad tantrum resurfaced one day before a tragic plane collision in Washington, D.C. His goons blamed DEI for it, except all the pilots were white. Oops. The real stats on who's qualified to be a pilot? Oh, but Elon Musk wants to talk aviation. So let's talk aviation. 100% of major aviation disasters in the U.S. over the past 20 years involved a white male pilot. Black pilots account for less than 3% of the aviation industry. And guess what? Black pilots have had 0 major commercial airline disasters in the U.S. Now let me say that again, because I know we know Elon is special. Black pilots, Elon, have had 0 major commercial airline disasters in the last 40 years. But sure, let's pretend that hiring more qualified, diverse candidates is the real risk. Sidebar, the only way you can get a black pilot to have an air disaster would be if the plane was made by Tesla. Tesla planes would be either falling out of the sky from a system crash or bursting into flames on a tarmac, just like the Tesla Cybertruck. Just maybe Elon shouldn't comment about qualifications since he's not qualified to build automobiles. Moving right along. The myth of pure meritocracy. One of the central arguments against DEI is the idea that selection for jobs, promotions, or educational opportunities should be based solely on merit, skill, or qualifications. However, race-critical perspectives highlight how merit is socially constructed. What counts as merit has historically been shaped by white men and elite institutions specifically for maintaining existing power structures. Hidden privileges shape access to opportunity. Legacy admissions, networking advantages, and nepotism disproportionately benefit white candidates while being framed as earned. Bias in hiring and promotion. Studies consistently show that black and brown candidates, side note here, I'm still separating based off of these November 5th election results. I'm still separating from the black and brown coalition. I am a delegate for the black candidates. Okay, so that's who I'm going to be representing here in this very podcast here. But those candidates must be overqualified to receive the same opportunities their white counterparts have and less pay than the very same white counterparts. The assertions that individuals benefiting from I didn't earn it often ignores the historical and ongoing exclusion of racial minorities from opportunities based on factors unrelated to individual merit. The contradictions, DEI as unfair versus white economic domination. If DEI policies are unfair because they help level the playing field, then what does that say about the historically uneconomic and social advantages enjoyed by white Americans, specifically white men? A critical race analysis points out that corporations and elite institutions have never been colorblind. They actively exclude black and brown, I'm still separating, black and brown workers for centuries, from segregated unions to redlining and hiring. Wealth and job markets are already racialized. White families hold 8 to 10 times the wealth of black and Latin families, and that was published in 2021 in the Federal Reserve, meaning DEI isn't about handouts but addressing an already unequal playing field. White mediocrity is rarely scrutinized. White individuals in leadership positions with subpar credentials or inherited advantages, good examples of that would be George W. Bush's legacy admission to Harvard, Yale, are rarely accused of not earning their position. Thus, if fairness is truly the concern, why is there no widespread critique of white economic and social advantages? The answer lies in the racialized nature of the earned versus unearned debate. And then there's DEI versus the reality of white nepotism. The irony of all of this is that DEI initiatives were designed to level the playing field, yet the biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action have been white women. According According to multiple studies, affirmative action policies overwhelmingly help white women gain access to education job opportunities. According to a report from Zipia, approximately 70% of chief diversity officers, CDOs in the U.S. corporations are white, while about 4% are black. This data suggests that despite the focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, there is a notable lack of racial diversity among those leading those efforts. The invisibility of white nepotism is clear for all to see here. The U.S. has a long history of white-only affirmative action, from the GI Bill to housing policies that allow generational wealth accumulation while excluding black Americans. Further, systemic white-only affirmative action also kept black people from obtaining social benefits like Social Security and welfare at the same monetary disbursements as whites, yet those very same black people were paying into a tax system that was excluding them. Keep that in the back of your mind. For what's next, the same system is in place when you consider Latin and Hispanic migrants, or as the authoritarian right in this country would label them, illegal immigrants who pay taxes but will never reap the benefits of Social Security retirement benefits. Sidebar. To the Latino and spicy Latinas, my caramba. Don't think for one second that this is a declaration of support or call for unity. Black people are standing on business. This was just a statement of fact to illustrate how the white-dominated system historically uses tax revenue from marginalized communities they've excluded from government benefits. Black people are still in our rest era, moving right along. Many prestigious universities and corporate positions remain overwhelmingly white, but their lack of racial diversity is rarely framed as a problem or of unearned advantages. For example, legacy college applicants at any Ivy League school. But now that DEI is being framed as a problem, who is actually losing? It's not white men. They've been insulated from competition through nepotism, legacy admission, and outright discrimination against more qualified black and brown, I'm still separating, professionals for decades. This selective outrage should suggest that merit is often a racialized concept to weaponize racial minorities' success while leaving white privilege unexamined. The truth about meritocracy? Let's talk about the so-called meritocracy that conservatives love to pretend exists. In aviation, I know Elon Musk is going to love this one here. In aviation, over 80% of U.S. pilots are white men. And who's responsible for 100% of the commercial airline disasters in the last 20 years? White men. Who has overseen some of the worst economic and political disasters? White men. In corporate America, who has led companies into bankruptcies while cashing out with million-dollar severance packages? White men. Yet, when a black person or a woman gets an opportunity, suddenly merit matters. Make it make sense. The dismantling of DEI initiatives, with Trump's latest executive order dismantling DEI initiatives in the federal government, the message is clear. They are trying to erase every bit of progress made over the last few decades to level the playing field. Under these policies, federal employees are now required to report colleagues who promote DEI. Affirmative action requirements in federal contracting are gone, obviously except for white men. The government is actively trying to reinforce systemic inequalities under the guise of fairness. Who actually didn't earn it? If Trump really cared about merit, maybe he should have hired competent legal counsel. So maybe, just maybe, if Donald Trump had a DEI hire, he wouldn't have had to file bankruptcy 6 times. Okay, he wouldn't have been convicted of 34 felonies. If he had hired a DEI candidate, maybe he wouldn't have lost multiple sexual abuse and defamation cases, or have been ordered to pay over $355 million for business fraud. Or maybe if he had a DEI hire, he would not have led an administration with more indictments than any other president in history. Maybe he wouldn't be leading a political party built on corruption, lies, and nepotism, but instead, he said he and his followers want to convince America that black and brown professionals, I'm still separating, are the problem. The veterans, women, and LGBTQ individuals are the diversity hires, while white men who inherit everything are somehow self-made. At the end of the day, DEI is not about giving unqualified people opportunities. It's about removing the artificial barriers that have kept highly qualified individuals from advancing in the first place. And if conservatives are so obsessed with merit, maybe they should start applying that standard to themselves. A race-critical analysis of didn't earn it critiques of DEI shows that meritocracy is not applied equally. Instead, accusations of earned advantages are racially coded to undermine the legitimacy of black and brown, I'm still separating, professionals while upholding white privilege as the default standard of success. Rather than focusing on who supposedly didn't earn their opportunities. A more critical question is, who has historically been denied the opportunity to earn? If you're white and didn't get the job, maybe you just weren't qualified. This isn't about DEI, it's about white mediocrity being exposed. So the next time someone screams about DEI hires not earning it, ask them, did they pay their way into school like Jared Kushner? Did they inherit their job like Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump, Donald Trump Sr.? Did they skip college and still got a six-figure salary like Sean Hannity? Or did they have to be overly qualified and still underpaid like Gretchen Carlson and Megyn Kelly? Or any woman or minority over at Fox News? Because when we really look at who didn't earn it, the answer is crystal clear. The biggest didn't earn it hires in this country have never been Black, Latin, women, or LGBTQ. The biggest recipients of affirmative action have been white men. The biggest beneficiaries of DEI have been white women. The biggest frauds screaming about merit are the people
it looks
who
like
have
our
never
time
had
is
to
up.
earn
I
it.
thank you for making the time to go through it to the end with me. Like, share, and subscribe, please, and thank you.